get. Brilliantly invented, hilarious, funny,
Up next, Eric Lindros on fame, its expectations and its responsibilities. Up close. He was to be, perhaps, an even greater Gretzky, maybe more super than Mario. Still only 19 years old, Eric Lindros signed the most lucrative rookie contract in NHL history. That after sitting out a year in a dispute with Quebec, the franchise that owned his rights. Once the season began, Lindros gained acceptance from his teammates, created a new fan interest around the league. But a knee injury sidelined him most of the year, and now an assault charge that went to trial yesterday in Ontario left young Lindros reeling. Today, in his first in-depth interview about all of that, Eric Lindros speaks out. Up close.
Now joining us, number 88, 19-year-old Eric Lindros, making $21 million over the course of 6 years, $3.5 million a season. Turned down at one point $55 million from the Quebec Nordiques, which we're going to talk about here at the top. Welcome, good to see you.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. You're doing better, but let me ask you a little bit about what it's like to turn down $55 million at age 18, which is what it was last year. It wasn't the money. Can you honestly say money wasn't a factor at all, you know, if you have a chance to make even more down the road?
Honestly, yeah, I can. I think that the way it was structured, it was something that jumped from a little over 1 to something like 8 or 9 a year, and there's no way that, you know, that would ever come true. And
you just didn't believe the owner? Is that what it was?
I didn't have faith in the organization. I didn't believe that, you know, any team that sits around and is last for 3 years in a row, I really didn't think they had the will to win. And you know, this year they're doing well. They've got a lot of great players, and they're playing great hockey. And you know, credit to them.
Just to take a look back at what was involved in the trade, Quebec got 5 players, 2 picks, with number 1 pick, $15 million. Players like Hextall, Duchesne, Huffman, other players. They have become, as he said, a very competitive team because of that. But absolutely no regrets. Yeah. But this was the second time, in a way, you turned down Quebec to play hockey, right?
Well, not necessarily Quebec, but the draft. I think that in junior, there's a situation here in Ontario where if you're 16, you get drafted to a certain place to live, and there's 16 or 17 teams in the league in the OHL, and I was drafted to Sault Ste. Marie, which was I grew up in Toronto, and it was.
Is that near Quebec in any way?
Not really.
Okay.
No, it's 10 or 11 hours away from Toronto, and I didn't think that it would help my my hockey at 16.
So I understand now why Quebec would say, okay, this is the second time, maybe not to us, but the second time he's gotten his way. You know, who is this kid to get his way? And who is this Bonnie who's going to run, who's his mom trying to run the show? We're the NHL. You don't tell us what to do, right? And that's what the reaction was all about. There was never any hesitation, no jitters going, maybe they're right.
Now when you've got parents as strong as mine and family and friends as strong as mine, I think that really helps. And with the coaches that I had, you know, in years prior to it that really supported the situation, and they knew me, and they knew the situation, and they just didn't hear what was written in the press or what was said on the talk shows or what was said, you know, over the airways. I mean, it was really, they knew the whole inside, and that's, you know, in most cases, that's a minority of people.
You had resolve, incredible resolve, and you mentioned before your family, and I want to tell the folks exactly what we're talking about. Two parents that have been very, very strong behind Eric, but particularly Bonnie, the mother. She took a tremendous amount of abuse.
She's very vulgar. It's sort of funny the way that my parents work. My dad is sort of the quiet one who is much more, he thinks a whole lot more, which he thinks a whole lot more, but he's always the one, you know, in the background.
Introspective, kind of more cerebral in the sense.
Yeah, and my mom is the one that's much more vocal. And, you know, anytime that you have a female that speaks out in the, you know, really it's a male-dominated sport, and it's a very sexist sport. Yep. She's going to take a beating.
Without trying to exploit the story, one of the things I hear is that you got a letter one day, or maybe that was just a letter, maybe it was just a banner. It said 2 words, bitch, Bonnie. It's your mother.
Yeah.
To have somebody publicly call your mother a bitch.
That's nothing. You know, that's the tip of the iceberg. So.
Other things worse?
They're just words.
Wow. The night of October 13th, when you took the ice against Quebec, the incident there, you endured, among other things, eggs, bullets. They threw bullets on the ice, batteries, pennies, bottles.
Yeah, there's enough change in there to pay taxes for 40 years.
Didn't bug you?
It's part of it, you know. I sort of like that. In a way, I like that. It's not, you know, the game just doesn't flow. It's not a regular 60 minutes, you know, punch in, punch out. It's got some jam to it. It's got a little.
You said sort of bring it on in a way. Yeah. Come on, I'll take whatever you got. Let's play, huh? Do you use it to fire you up on the ice?
I think so. I think that, you know, if I just go out and play casual, I start sleeping. You know, I gotta be pumped up. I gotta have something that a little something there that isn't the norm. Yeah. And when that happens, I think I play better.
This whole year hasn't been the norm. I mean, you've been plastered on every page, sporting news, hockey news, expectations being what they are. Before we get into all of those things, let's talk about one issue, and we'll put it to rest as quickly as we can. It's an incident involving a woman by the name of Lynn Tunney, Nooney, I'm sorry, back November 29th, a beer spilling incident. Now, in any other time, perhaps, and with any other player, it could be passed off as, they threw some beer in a bar and that's the end. First, let's listen to Gordie Howe, the great Gordie Howe, talking about what it's like to be a celebrity in a bar and to have people maybe even egging you on. Here's Gordie Howe talking about the Lindros incident.
As a rule, somebody said if you go on like we had a manager say, if you go on a drink and you have to have it, then I suggest you sit at a table. Then the trouble has to come to you. If that incident took place right at the bar, I would have something to say about it because everybody's in your conversation then. So whatever had happened, I'd have to have Eric's side of the story before. Who knows? It's I think a lot of times, like we've had to have people come over and actually sat down. My wife and I, first time I've been home in a week, and guy pulls up a chair and sits down. He says, "Excuse me, I haven't seen this lady for a week. We like to talk." You know? But people will come in, and maybe that's how it happened to him. I don't see him. He can be a hothead. I've seen him after his brother when he bugged him, but no, I can't see it. He's too much of a gentleman for that.
All right, well, what he said partially, and we can't talk about this at length for legal reasons.
Well, it was my brother.
Oh, all right, well, that's something else. But what he said is that if you're at a bar and you're involved in an incident, it's half your fault right off the bat, because you shouldn't be at the bar if you're Eric Lindros, number one.
Why not?
Because you're Eric Lindros.
So I shouldn't be allowed to live my life like everyone else at 19, you know, back home.
So you're saying,
so you're
absolutely,
saying that
you're viewed differently, so you should be treated the same. In other words, you're making mega money.
Yeah, but
the expectations are different. But you know, hear me out, Eric.
Okay.
The expectations are different, people looking up to you, and then there's the other issue, and I'm not alleging this at all, but there are people who will try to get something out of you if they force your hand. Charles Barkley, by the way, he was exonerated in Milwaukee, somebody egging him on. You're making a lot of money, Eric. There are a lot of people who aren't making a lot of money. Maybe they're trying to force your hand in some ways.
Well, I know it's sort of the scenario that you know, you want to live a normal life. I mean, I was there with all my friends, and I really can't talk too much about it because of legal reasons.
That's fine.
But it will come out.
Are you resentful, though?
Am I upset about it?
Are you resentful of this whole thing that it turned into this?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed that you know, it went this far. You know, not just for my family, but you know, for the other side that were involved. I mean, I really got to wonder what was going on. But you know, I'm just a regular kid who went out that night in blue jeans and in a pair of sneakers and a T-shirt, and I don't think there's any problem with me going out with my friends and you know, just going out with them.
You might be right at 19. You might be right. But I must tell you a quick story.
Why should we be different? If I was 30 and you know, say Wayne Gretzky went out or something, or Mario went out, why shouldn't they be allowed?
Well, let me
to
tell you a quick story. This happened to us on a show. We had Roger Clemens on our show when he was first coming into the major leagues, and he said, you know what I want to be most of all? I want to be a regular guy. I want to sign autographs. I want to be around the people. I want to hang out at bars. You know, he's had 3 or 4 incidents. Now, I think, in my personal opinion, he's a decent guy. I think he's been pushed so many times. The autograph people, the expectations, the cat calls, the name call, everything.
It gets to you.
It does get to you, and that's why you got to watch yourself. And I'm not the only one who says that, but a lot of people say if you don't watch yourself, Someone's going to try to manipulate you and to force you into a bigger incident. How about the other thing before we go? Are you a hothead? Off the ice?
Sometimes.
Off the ice?
Not off the ice. Not off the ice. I'm pretty... I'm all right. I'm there.
Yeah. Eric Lindros, he's our guest. We'll come back with some more after this. When you listen to him talk, you're going to find it hard to believe that he's just 19 years old. He is the phenom. They say perhaps the franchise for the NHL in years to come. Here's Eric Lindros, the Philadelphia Flyers, number 88. Bill Lyon of the Philadelphia Inquirer newspaper had a quote about you earlier this year. Eric Lindros has already seen most of the best and the worst of the NHL and what it's had to offer, and to this point he's played as well as you could reasonably expect, the key word being reasonably. His numbers project to somewhere between 45 and 50 goals and between 90 and 100 points, which would be a marvelous season for a veteran, let alone a 19-year-old rookie. But alas, at this point, the Flyers' numbers project to a point total somewhere in the 60s, which would not be enough to qualify for the playoffs. Still, to expect one player to effect a turnaround in one season, especially when the talent around him is pedestrian, is decidedly unreasonable. You can't carry this team, but their expectation is that you are going to have to carry this team.
One thing, we're not... the other talent around our team is not pedestrian. We've got a lot of quality players. It's just a matter right now of everyone getting it together, you know. Excuse me.
But do you view yourself as having a, you know?
Hey, listen, they didn't make the playoffs the last 3 years. And
Right.
I traded 5 players.
Get on my shoulders and I'll take you to the playoffs, any of that kind of stuff?
Well, no one sat down and said, listen, you know, there's a lot of pressure this year. You got to do this, you got to do that. Go in, you work hard, you do your job, and you know, I'm learning. I'm learning a lot. You know, I don't think the first 10 games of the year that you know, that I played at a personal level was you know, I can't be happy with it. And
you've had physical problems as well.
Well, I was out for 9 or 10 games, and you know, that doesn't you know, help out, you know, things around the team. And you know, we're getting back, and we're starting to come back together again here. And but as far as calling our, you know, there were, you know, a lot of the players on our team pedestrian. You know, we got so much here that I think a lot of people are just looking for the small instead of saying that, here, listen, we got a couple of guys here that are really good in this position, some guys here that can be great in this position, and go with it. Why not? Why always have to cut things down when you can build them up?
You know, you want to deal with positives.
Add water.
Yeah. Let's talk about Howe again. Gordie talking about the questions you asked of him when you first came up, what it was like. Gordie Howe talking about the questions that great players coming up ask. Here's Gordie.
A very strong, tall, good-looking kid who should be in Hollywood, but he's a guy who's fallen in love with hockey. He reminds me somewhat of myself, not the looks or anything, but in the way he approaches a game. He won't take any guff. He's very unselfish, and I used to get heck for that. Jack Adams used to say, "Why don't you shoot the puck?" And I said, "Well, he's in a better position," and that's the way Eric works. That he's a team player, and all I can say for him is when my contact with him, he just sat down and asked me a dozen questions, and it's the same reaction I got from Wayne Gretzky the first time I met him, a young guy. He asked me a question about how did you handle professional hockey at the age of 17, and I said, some wise old man said I had one mouth and 2 eyes. Keep 2 open, 1 shut, you do fine. And Wayne repeated that 13 years later, so he listens, and I think Eric listens very well, too.
Yeah. What do you think was the most important lesson, even for a short conversation you had from a great man like Gordie Howe in the sport of hockey?
You can make it last for as long as you want, but there's always fun every year. You know, all he talked about was the fun, and I think people have to keep that in perspective. I mean, you know, you're there and you're working hard, and sometimes your career might be cut short. I mean, tomorrow night I could walk in there and break my leg up and be gone for years and years and years.
But you are having fun?
Oh, I'm having a great time. Oh, it's unbelievable how much fun I'm having.
I must tell you a story. He came to tape our show today, and we're taping, obviously, in Los Angeles. He says, wow, Los Angeles. I've never been to Los Angeles. I said, well, really, what are you going to do? He said, play hockey. Yeah. That's it. That's all you have time for? That's what you do?
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
You know, I got to hit Rodeo Drive. I got to see that place.
I bet you will. Listen to Mario LemiEUX talking number 66, talking about number 88, and what he brings to the ice. The great Mario LemiEUX, 2-time MVP for that matter.
We only played 1 game against Philly so far, but you can see he's a great player. He's got the size, he's got the skills, he's very intelligent, he's got the drive to to succeed, and you know, he's doing a great job so far in his rookie year with the type of team that he has, and give him a couple years and he'll be one of the greatest.
How daunting is it for you to take the ice against a Mario Lemieux, a guy who's very physically similar to you, 6'4", 6'5" on the ice, plays a similar type of game?
Oh, I wouldn't say similar. I'd say...
You more physical?
Yeah, a whole lot more physical. I think that, you know, I haven't got a whole lot of the skills that he has. It's sort of a thing where you're given a certain number of tools, and you're given a certain number of time to use them, and you got to make sure that you use your tools, as many tools as you have, all the time. And you know, I can't compete in things like stick handling and some of his playmaking. I mean, that's going to take time, and it probably, you know, most of the time probably will never come.
Are you a thumper? Do you like to thump?
Yeah, I'm a...
That's what you're a tight end, aren't you? Playing hockey.
Ditch digger. Yeah.
You're a ditch digger?
Yeah, go in there. I like, you know, you know, grinding it out. That's the way I like to play.
You like checking. You like putting people in the board. Are you a mean player, Eric? I've heard that.
What do you consider as mean?
Somebody who take a little extra and put his pads onto somebody if he has to. I mean, really enjoys the hit. Really enjoys the hit.
Yeah.
Likes dishing it out.
Like
breaking a guy's, you know, ribs or breaking. I mean, you broke a guy's shoulder.
You don't look for it. You don't look for it. But you know, it's one of those things that happen in the course of a game. I mean, you know, I got hit, my knee went out, and it's one of those things that happen.
You like the reputation, the Darth Vader, a little bit, right?
Sometimes. Yeah.
But you like to be preceded, even at 19, before you've even played a game in the NHL, as a tough, mean guy. Don't mess with Eric Lindros.
Well, I think a lot of things that have to deal with that is team toughness.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a lot of great quality people that back a lot of different people up on our team. I mean, we all back up one another. And, you know, it doesn't hurt having a guy like Dave Brown on your team.
Yeah, doesn't hurt having a guy like this on the team, too. We'll come back more with Eric Lindros after this.
Our key player, everybody right now throughout the league, they're buying tickets for when Philadelphia comes because they want to see Lindros. And Lindros will be a phenomenon in this league. I think he's given every indication that he'll live up to all of the expectations.
Do you agree that they'll hate him in some buildings, though, as some have said?
Well, sure, a love-hate thing. They'll admire, if they're true hockey fans, they'll admire and respect what he can do, and they'll be rooting against him because they want their team to win. I never saw a better hockey player than Bobby Clark when I was with the Flyers, and he wasn't universally loved.
The league president, Gil Stein. You don't care about being loved. In fact, being hated is a way, is homage. It's being loved in a certain sense, or admired anyway. When they hate you, they admire you, like he said.
Well, if they're not booing you in the opposing rink, you know you're not doing anything.
Yeah. You like the boos, if you can hear them.
What the hell?
You listen to them.
Sure.
Sure. By the way, at 19, just to compare this, Gretzky had 164 points. Mm-hmm. Lemieux had 100 points. Trottier, 95 points. Mm-hmm. Doesn't look like you're going to reach that plateau yet. That's not important to you. Numbers aren't important. Not at all.
I think, you know, I wasn't brought here to put up personal numbers. I was brought here to see what I can do and try and lift our team into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And that's my goal. I'm sure that, you know, as the year goes on, personal numbers will improve, but that's only secondary. You know, mm-hmm. The primary goal right now is, you know, is to jump back into playoff contention and to remain there.
Before we go, a couple more questions. What do you want to do with money? What do you like to do with the money? What do you think you'd like to do? You want to travel? You want to buy something? What's important to you?
I bought my parents, you know, my mom was always wanted a sports car. You know, she's always driving around in station wagons, you know, with the hockey gear and the, you know, the groceries and the grocery getter. And, you know, I got her a nice car for Christmas.
How about for you? What do you want for you? You want to see the world?
What do you need? I don't need anything. You know, a couple more CDs. Bigger stereo. I mean, what do you
Springsteen? You got all your Springsteen. I know you're a big Springsteen fan, right?
Yeah, Springsteen's great.
Yeah, and Asia, like Asia music. Yeah. Not, by the way, not the country. That's a band, by the way, Asia. You're going to do a stint at Rodeo, maybe? You're going to spend a few days?
I don't know. We'll see.
Before we go, last one. Baseball. Somebody said, you know, this guy would have been a hell of a baseball player. Played some good baseball, too. Really knows how to handle the stick. You have any regrets for not having pursued baseball, ultimately?
No.
Yeah.
No. I'll get a chance to catch up in the off season and have some fun with the stick. But, well, you know, I'm here for hockey. I'm having fun, and let's see where we can take it.
Very, very level-headed, as you can tell, at 19 years old. It's hard to really remember that sometimes, that he's just 19. He is Eric Lindros, and he's off to, if not a spectacular season, a very solid season. He's got to stay healthy, too, for the Flyers. best of luck, continued success. It's going to be a great, long career. We hope you come back too.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric. We'll come back. More Up Close after this. Just a few moments ago, you heard Eric Lindros say that he just wants to live his life like any other 19-year-old. He is very confident, very impressive, very talented, I think. But every 19-year-old doesn't have a $25 million contract in the bank, and every 19-year-old isn't the centerpiece of a national television contract. Every 19-year-old doesn't enter his profession with the expectations of superstardom. Eric Lindros is a celebrity, whether he likes it or not. And with celebrity comes responsibility. Whether he likes it or not, the only question is Lindros mature enough to handle that celebrity? He didn't handle it well enough to avoid a trial this week for allegedly assaulting a woman in a Toronto bar. Supposedly he dumped beer and spat on her. Not as widely known, though, is a second incident involving Lindros, one reported this week in the Philadelphia Inquirer. Again, this is allegedly. Lindros was out with some friends again, this time in a restaurant in South Jersey, January 9th. Details very sketchy, and Lindros called it a minor thing. But you see, enough of these minor things have the Flyers management edgy, and indeed all the NHL, I think. Club officials have talked to Lindros about his behavior off the ice. They understand the pitfalls of being young and famous, of being away from home and in a big city, of being a lightning rod for trouble. Those same officials are trying to help Lindros understand the potential traps in his path. And to a point, you almost can't blame Lindros. His problem isn't uncommon for young athletes, many of whom are coddled and comforted by their handlers. Often they're shielded from the responsibilities the rest of us deal with daily. They are made to feel special. They're told they're different, and soon they believe that they're better than the rest. Not necessarily Eric Lindros, but that's the general rule. Today's young athletes do want it all. They want the fortune, the excitement, the achievement. They want everything good that can come with talent. But perhaps ask them for an autograph and they charge money for it. Ask them for an interview and they send you off to an agent. For all of their abilities, many are not very good at paying that price, we think. Lindros is learning the price of celebrity. He'll never be just a regular guy as he hopes to be. He is in the public domain now, and he is not alone. He might compare notes with baseball's Jose Canseco, who's learned the hard way that everything he does is a potential headline, or basketball's Charles Barkley, whose mood swings on and off the court have made him an easy target for fans and whose tongue lashing of referees this week resulted in a fine and suspension. What Eric Lindros doesn't need is a reputation for trouble, which can haunt him the rest of his career. What he needs, we think, is the understanding that with celebrity does come responsibility, and to deal with that responsibility, it takes maturity. Maturity. That's something all the money in the world can't buy.
Up Close is brought to you by O'Doul's from Anheuser-Busch. Premium beer taste without the alcohol.